Victoria's high country is rugged, breathtakingly beautiful and full of reminders of a golden past. Gold and the search for the precious metal transformed colonial Australia. Now a new generation of miners is following their footprints.
So how long have you been working underground here now, Richard?
I think we started back in about 2016. It was a lot of effort to get everything done. It took us quite a while to get the portal up to make the entrance safe, but it's all come together pretty good. Looking good now.
You've made some pretty good progress in here, and you can see a lot of the evidence of the workings all the way down here.
You'll notice there's a reef coming down just up here. It was going 38 grams a tonne.
At Swifts Creek in eastern Victoria, Richard Darby has always believed there was much gold still to be won. On the strength of it, some years back, he bought this long-abandoned mine.
It's called Darby's Tunnel. So it's an old underground working that was put in quite some time ago, that Richard's been working since 2016.
It's on a steep hillside riddled with gold-bearing reefs. And now it's about to repay his faith handsomely.
We can see 2 gold reefs in there, or quartz reefs which are hosting gold.
The boys have been getting 3.5 metre widths of reefs, averaging about 11 grams right across the whole width, which makes it a very good resource.
That's why gold mining company First AU is excited about its exploration leases here.
So this is our snowstorm project. It starts at the bottom of the hill that we're walking down and extends all the way up and over the hill behind us.
And what is it that so excites you about it?
Yeah, it's been the results that we've had to date in the exploration drilling we've done, and the high-grade results from the old timers and the past owners as well. So we know that there's been a rich history of mining from the mid-1850s through to the early 1900s on and off. And then since then, there's sort of been people come and go, but no serious work.
First AU is an Australian company applying the latest technology to find gold and base metals. It has mining leases in 3 states. The initial results here show some high-grade deposits.
They vary, but 15 to 30 grams per tonne has been taken out of the ground. A lot of it's quite shallow.
What have you found?
Company Chief Executive Ryan Skeen believes that historically, the tough terrain and the region's remoteness has deterred mining companies from fully exploring it. But so too has the geology, erratic mineral seams that often bamboozled the old-timers. Richard Darby's shaft, 30 metres long, through sheer rock, is a case in point.
It goes back to about 1900, and the old-timers, they were brilliant, but unfortunately they didn't read this ground quite as good as they could, because it appeared to cut out.
This is a really striking example of how mining in the olden days could be so hit and miss. Whoever dug this tunnel decided to go in this direction, and sadly for them, it seems their efforts have come to nothing. Had they gone in this direction, they would have struck their pick into this fabulous seam of gold-bearing ore.
It's just amazing, like they stop or you go 2 foot further. You always hear these stories where some bloke walks away and the next bloke comes in, fires 2 shots and he's got a 3-ounce reef.
Modern technology removes the guesswork. Exploratory drills can probe deep into the earth, taking samples from 1 kilometre underground.
That's an interesting piece of rock, Tom. Where'd that come from? What depth?
This one come in at about 1/2 metre, which is quite shallow in the hole.
Do you know any idea what's in that?
We've put the XRF on it, and it's got about 0.2% copper and some low traces of titanium so
that's
far.
Very encouraging. And what's our target on this hole?
About 150 metres. So this is some core samples that have been drilled for us recently on the current program. Basically, it just gives us a better understanding of the lithology, the makeup of the rocks, what the bedding's actually doing. A lot of copper, titanium, a lot of iron coming along, even potentially some gold, hopefully, what we're after.
New geological mapping also links this region to the fabulous gold deposits of central Victoria, such as Fosterville, Victoria's largest gold mine. One of the world's highest grade, most profitable gold mines, it has produced more than 500,000 ounces from underground in the past 2 years. The Darby family runs the Swifts Creek store, but Richard has always dreamed of gold, since age 6 when he found some specks of it in a gold pan. He's looked for it all over Australia.
It's like a fisherman getting a big fish. It's exciting.
But it looks like his biggest strike is in his back paddock.
I think we bring a lot of firepower in terms of technical expertise to the table in what we've done, but you can't buy the local knowledge that Richard has got. I mean, he knows just about every prospect in the area. He's been out there, he's probably taken samples, he's probably done a little bit of mining.
The company that is very keen to go, they've got brilliant results. It's all in the hands of the government when they approve the permits.
The gold from these mineral seams is fine and dust-like. It requires sophisticated methods to extract it from the crushed ore. Near his mine, Richard Darby has built his own basic pilot plant for crushing, extracting and refining gold. But it's letting some of the treasure slip away.
Well, like here, when we crush the rock, we find that we were losing about 8 grams, which is more than a lot of resources start with. This is a small pilot plant that we built to test the ore. We can put through about 0.5 tonne an hour, and we can do about 8 tonne a day if we're forced to, but it gives you an idea of what's going on in the hill.
Extracting all the gold and minerals from the ore will require a sophisticated processing plant and a good amount of capital. That's where joining forces with First AU will help. The old workings here are also very useful, revealing mineral veins that contain gold and other metals. There were goldfields to the north, but the town of Swifts Creek was mostly a staging post until the 1880s, when gold was found at nearby Cassilis. These stunning stone structures are cyanide vats, where crushed ore was roasted to separate the minerals and gold.
The stonework was just absolutely magnificent. The old timers, they didn't do a half job, they did a full job.
Apart from a few relics, they're all that remains of a town with a peak population of 500.
So Richard, what do you call this place?
This is the treatment plant of the King Cassilis gold mine, last operated by John Avery in about 1960.
It looks pretty primitive now, but I guess for its day.
It was quite complex for the time. They had actually a generator in the shed over there. You can see the electric motor.
Oh, it's a crushing plant, Richard.
Yes, that's a Jake jaw crusher. As you can see, look, it's made in Richmond. The material was fed into that, came out and then fed into the pickup of this rod mill. That big arm used to pick it up, put it through the mill, grind it to a very fine powder, and then you had your classifiers at the end, which separated the sands from the minerals.
And hopefully some good gold.
It was produced a concentrate that needed further work.
This claim was worked until the 1960s, but the low-grade ore made it unviable. On Richard's land on the other side of the mountain, geologists now believe this mineral deposit may all be part of the same big reef running for several kilometres.
And you think it might be connected to the reef at the bottom?
Yeah, we think it all is part of a larger structure.
Modern-day miners have the luxury of powerful machinery.
There was a big reef up on the hill there, and the bulldozer driver came and said, "Oh, I've just hit this big quartz reef," as if it was a disaster. I said, "You beauty." Yeah, so once again, you feel for the old timers, they didn't have a bulldozer. If they did this, there wouldn't be a hill there today.
There's about as much gold left in Victoria as has ever been extracted across the state. That's an estimate by Geoscience Victoria.
2021 saw record exploration levels and about $200 million invested in it, while mining annually generates $1 billion to the Victorian economy. And just now, the state is seeing a mining resurgence. Some are even calling it the new boom.
What we're experiencing in Victoria is the second rush, really. Gold mining's bigger than it's been for a very long time, and we expect it to get even bigger. So people think of the gold rush, the 1850s, 1860s, 70s, but what we're seeing is a new rush in the 2020s. We expect it to grow. It's already contributing a massive amount to the economy.
Fosterville's Central Victorian mine has been worked for 35 years, and surprisingly, the deeper they're dug, the better the returns, with enormous economic benefits. Each giant truck that roars up from the deep underground workings carries lucrative pay dirt. The current buoyant gold price, around $2,600 per ounce, means each is hauling more than $100,000 of gold.
This mine and the one down the road, the Costerfield operations, employ over 1,000 Central Victorians, spend $50 million a year on local supplies and pay about $90 million in wages. So it's an example of what mining can bring to a region.
But miners aren't just chasing the yellow stuff.
We have quite a range of minerals in Victoria, mineral sands, rare earths, base metals. There's exploration taking place for copper and zinc. So we've actually got a really broad range, and the more commodities, the more mines, the more minerals, the more resilient this industry will be, and the more it will add to our regional economies.
And small, remote towns like Swifts Creek. Its population has halved in the past decade. The impact is seen at events such as football and netball training.
Has declined, and particularly family populations. As involvement in the local football netball club, the numbers of players, particularly in our junior grades, are slowly declining, and even looking at the numbers coming through, there's less.
Tonight, as an icy squall sweeps the ground, there's only half a dozen going through their paces. To field teams each Saturday, the club relies on players travelling from the nearest big town, a good hour away. If First AU's projections live up to their promise, it will bring jobs and revenue and a brighter future.
There's opportunities for people to gain employment. That's really critical in our area, so that people have work locally, so that people from our community don't have to leave to find work, so that they can live, really.
I would certainly hope so. As the timber industry is slowly shutting down, hopefully, we could kick back up the mining industry and get the jobs back. Maybe even if the mill shuts down, we get a local processing plant put in.
Tom Darby, Richard's grandson, is already employed by the company.
Well, even here in the last few weeks, to look around, you'll see probably 6 or 7 people working here, which is what we want in these areas. Like, we need the work, and it all could come to a good end.
Even a medium-sized mining project requires, significant investment. I would say multiples of hundreds of millions of dollars. It requires new skills, it requires new training, new infrastructure, all these things. So I think that any mining project, whether it's us and there's a few others operating in the area as well, that if someone could get something going, I think it would be really significant for the local community.
And Richard Darby's long-held dream would at last come true.
It's always there. If you have a bad day, well, you just think about gold, think of a reef, and it's like a religion to you.